Hi, and welcome to the Millennial Money Canada podcast. I'm your host, Guillaume, and I want to thank you for tuning in. If you're a new listener, welcome. Our goal with this podcast is to help you elevate your knowledge about money so you can live well, build wealth, give generously, and leave a legacy that you're proud of. But it's also to chat about topics that are outside money and finance that can have a meaningful impact on your quality of life, your happiness, and your fulfillment in life. And today's conversation is about accomplishments, pursuing your goals, doing what you love, enjoying the process, failing, and ultimately being really proud about something that you've accomplished in your life. And I couldn't have a better guest than Ben Rutledge. Ben is a Canadian Olympic gold medalist, entrepreneur, and business leader. He was raised in Cranbrook, BC, and he's reached the pinnacle of international rowing as a member of the Canada's men's eight, winning an Olympic gold medal and multiple world championships title. He's appeared in the 2004 and 2008 Olympic Games. After retiring from elite sport, Ben transitioned into business, and he's the co-founder of Designer Capital and Be Vigilant. And he's applying the same discipline, leadership, and long-term thinking that defined his athletic career. His journey from Olympic champion to entrepreneur offers powerful insights on performance, resilience, and sustained success on and off the podium. With that being said, let's go to the episode. Hey, Ben, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thanks for having me. Good to see you.
I'm really excited to have this chat with you
Me
since,
too, man.
since we met at the conference last year, and I heard, about your presentation, and I thought it was like phenomenal. And when I was listening to it, I was like, oh, I really want to pick his brain, and I would really want to have a chat with him. So super grateful that you wanted to allocate some time and yeah, go into a various aspect of your life. And one of the main one is your career around rowing and your mindset, and also how that translated to you being a business owner today, and all the interlinked kind of personal attributes I guess you've built along the way. So anyway, I want to dive in all of that if it's okay with you.
100%, man. No, let's do it.
Okay. My first question is I want you to start the podcast by mentioning the story that led you to start rowing. I thought that was just really cool. I thought it
Yeah,
was
well,
good one.
for sure. I mean, every time you start something new, there's some inspiration that changes the direction or path you're walking on. And literally, I was walking on a path, and that was I was at university, 18 years old, trying to just figure out who I was and what I was doing there, and was with a bunch of friends from the residence hall, and we were headed towards a drinking establishment, maybe let's call it, and young, and maybe I was 19, I don't know, but we'll say we were gonna go have a fun time, and I just happened to catch out of the corner of my eye this meeting, and I guess I should tell the full stories. I originally started when I was paying tuition at university at UBC, and back then you had to line up to pay with your check. You didn't pay online, and the rowing team would then walk down the line and look for tall people to join, because rowing's kind of it's not such a popular sport in Canada, and it's maybe generally well known at the Olympic level, but not so much at the grassroots. Like, how do you actually sign up and go? So, university teams, recruit off campus to try and find tall people, which is what good for sports. So they said, come out and try it. It was just a quick touch point by a couple people. And then it turned into, okay, forgotten about it. Was walking towards this beer garden, happened to see a small sign, and it was like rowing team meeting now. Like, it was immediately. It was like, go. And I was just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. And I was with about 20 guys, and they were all gonna have a big fun night. And I walked away. I was like, I'm gonna check this out. And wasn't always an easy, that's not always easy to do when there's a big sort of party ahead or don't know what you're getting into. So I walked into the meeting, and it was full. It was full of biggest lecture theater at UBC, and there's about 300 people in there. And I was like, wow, this is actually, what is this? And I ended up just signing up for the co-ed recreational learn how to row program. Nothing. I was just like, let's give it a try. Uh, Turned out I was the only guy that signed up for the co-ed division. So I also had, yeah, I was surrounded with a bunch of young females my age, and I had my parents' minivan. So I was driving them to practice, and yeah, it was just a very organic, raw. Let's do this for fun, and that quickly led to, well, finding out that I'm tall, quite athletic, and maybe some more questions we'll get into. But maybe does that kind of cover the or what you remember of the story? And did I?
Yeah, I remember when I first heard it, like, I mean, at such a young age as well, like to have the maturity, the discipline to say, hey, no, guys, I'm not going to party tonight. Like, I'm going to this rowing tryout. Like, looking back, like, how pivotal do you think that moment was, at that point in time?
Oh, so pivotal, right? Like it just such a fleeting moment. Like you look back and go, okay, well, obviously it played out the way it did, and there was a lot of hard work, blah blah blah. But like, it could have been nothing. Like absolutely, my world could have been changed forever differently, and maybe it would have turned out great going to the party. Who knows? But it obviously turned out pretty well, not going and stepping away. So I think that's always the lesson is try and learn, and you can always catch up on other things later too, but some things aren't a second chance, and you got to kind of take that opportunity.
That's good. Before we dive deeper into your kind of rowing accomplishments and whatnot, I just want to go back to, I guess, your childhood. Like you did mention you were tall. Can you talk about the athleticism that you had developed up until this point?
Sure, yeah. As a kid, I can't remember the stories that I told in my talk, but I wasn't athletic really growing up. I mean, I was your regular kid. Probably most people would call me probably overweight, and a little clumsy, tall, overweight. I played hockey growing up, and I quickly after my first year of hockey, or halfway through my first year of hockey, I wanted to be a goalie because I just had to stand there. I didn't actually have to skate, and I was big, and I was like, this works. So I was a little lazy. Um, but over time, you develop a love or a joy for something, and then you want to put more time into it. And I think I was so lucky to grow up in Cranbrook, BC, where hockey was like everything. Like if you weren't on a hockey team, like your social status was lower. There was basketball and like other stuff, and it had its cachet, but like the hockey team was the upper echelon. So like it was a social ladder as well. So I just kept putting more time into that, and being a goalie in a small town, you end up getting a lot of ice time. So I was playing um, during winter peaks like 10 times a week, like with tournaments on weekends, like playing 4 games plus once or twice a day, depending on like in the morning with your regular teams and the evenings with beer league, old timer league. So like I sort of just developed this like capacity for athleticism, even though I wasn't really that good. I played AAA hockey, but like at the end, once all the top players had gone to junior A, if they'd kind of been pulled out. So I played some okay hockey, but I never made the jump to junior.
So you did have, you were athletic, you did play kind of sports regularly. So you were used maybe not to the level of, university level, maybe roaring team type of intensities and hours maybe, but it was up there in terms of you were used to like being on the ice a couple hours a week and, maybe twice a day even in some like instances and all that stuff. So
100%.
yeah.
And like by the time I was 15 or 16, I'd sort of gone through puberty, and like I could skate as fast as the fastest skater with my goalie pads on in a straight line. It took me a while to get up to speed, but like, but it was too, by that time when you're 15 or 16 playing hockey, if you haven't made the jump already, like
Yeah.
you're behind. Anyway,
But,
but it wasn't until I was 16 that I realized like, oh man, like I'm actually pretty strong.
wow. And did you play rep? Did you play was
Yeah,
it
man.
yeah. And how
Like
tall are you?
6'5".
But yeah, so man, like nowadays in the NHL, goalies are tall.
I
Like,
don't know. Like, well,
yeah, You must take so much space in the net, man, with all the gear and stuff. Like, there's no way you're going top shelf on you. You have to go
No.
low.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah,
go.
yeah. And your pads too, man. You must be covering like if you were doing. I don't know if like butterfly was like a technique back then, but maybe not that. Yeah, but man, if you're in butterfly today, like there's no way you. Yeah, you have to go 5 hole or something. But yeah, oh, that's cool.
Yeah, man. So
So okay, so now you're at university. You're starting. I mean, you started co-ed. Talk to me about that kind of development. In terms of like getting used to it and even like maybe your early aspirations. Like just what was going through your mind? Were you just trying to be there, get your degree, have something that was challenging you on the side? Did you already have like Olympics aspirations? Like what was your state of mind kind of in the early years of I guess getting to know the sport, getting used to the training regimen and then the team?
yeah.
Yeah.
Early on, there was no real goals with it, but I did realize that within myself, I developed sort of a need for athleticism. Not maybe not like high performance, but I needed to push myself, and that always felt good, like in one way or another. So rowing fed that need. I didn't really realize how much it was needed. Like as a younger kid, I think you're active and you're always going, and like you have sort of this balance of like working out and like you feel good from it. But then as you get older, you sit down a lot more, and like you realize you're not actually being active as much as you were, and your body really, anyways, so needs that sort of push. So early on, it was I kind of just wanted to do it for fun. I knew I needed to do something, and but what kept me going, and what I believe is true as well, is that I showed quick improvement, and on a various level, like you just sort of realize, oh wow, like I improved quite a bit, and I'm still like relatively new, and I sort of was like, this is kind of cool, and like there's people that have been doing this like their whole lives, and all of a sudden I'm like fairly competitive with them, and then that competitive instinct sort of kicks in, and you're just like, as a young person, and I mean for a lot of people too, but your need for, I talked about the social aspect of sport and the social ladder. There's also sort of this internal like, mm, what's the best word for it? Just need to uh, express who you are. And if you haven't quite figured out who you are as a teenager, like you generally start associating yourself with what you do as who you are. And there's this sort of like identity piece. So this whole identity piece of like, I'm a rower now. I'm on a varsity team. I'm good. I'm all of a sudden like you really start sort of feeding off that, and that for me anyways, like everyone's different. I 100% like know that everybody has these different pathways, but for me as a young male adult, that was important, and I wanted to be more and better, and if I could be seen as more and better in this sport, then let's keep going.
Yeah.
um, but I always had the capacity to train. I grew up on a farm as a younger kid. I always kind of had this like, I can handle anything. I'm tough. And rowing, your hands just get beat up. And I think I told stories of like, I still have a pad of the blister on my left hand, which turned the oar. And we're like going on 15, 20 years later. So like, I liked the physicality and the toughness of the sport as well. And yeah, I think that was kind of the big draw to it.
Yeah. So one thing I think you've referred to is it seems to me that you started and of course you had the characteristics, but you also found like some like early successes. And usually when people are kind of good at something, they tend to usually like it more, which makes sense,
Yeah.
right? And then they dive into it. So when did you realize that you did have the talent and then maybe the talent wasn't enough or was the talent enough? Like when did the kind of hard work and
Ball drop.
yeah, like, do you know what I mean? Because I feel like a lot of people sometimes when they're successful at something early on, it's just maybe they have like a natural ability and whatnot. And then when did you realize that like, oh wow, like if I want to, of course I want to have Olympics aspirations and even win a gold medal, like talent alone is not just gonna get me there. Like, yeah, what was that for you? Did you discover that early on, or that was actually just later on in your career?
Well, it was later.
Oh, okay.
And like not terribly later, but like I definitely carried with me like, um, it probably wasn't until after I'd won my first world championship at the senior level did the rubber hit the road of like it was everything was just like up, 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 up. Every year was improve, 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 improve. There was no like real failures other than a few like silver medals. Um, like there wasn't a lot of like being knocked down. Um, but the first like real road was like after, I mean, the real strength in rowing, it's an aerobic sport. So it can take years to develop that. And I was lucky to be involved in a team, and I was the youngest guy on the, oh, there's one other guy a couple weeks younger, but let's say I was young on the team, and I was largely relying on their experience to get me there. I was a big part of it and had raw power and strength, but like without their decade of like aerobic training and like ability to like hold form at a high pressure and level, I would like a 8 of me in a boat wouldn't have never amounted to what I would have been with these guys. So I was young, and it took and was in an experienced group. Um, and then after a while, when you start to get older, your body doesn't handle training as well, and it doesn't recover as well. And that's the biggest thing is like, I think a lot of people can still train hard as they get older, but they need more time to recover. And even like moving from being 22, 23 to 24, there's the your body's just takes a little bit longer to recover. And I didn't, and I just got some injuries. And it's the first time I really had to deal with some injuries and then try and come back from that. It was always like improve, improve, improve. And then it was just like injury out for 6 weeks. And the rest of the team kept training. And to be like out for 6 weeks and then come back and like your brain tells you you should be here, but you're actually performing, you're only like this much below. But when you can't get out in front for even just a moment, you're sort of just like, oh man, this is a lot. So an injury coming out of the my first senior world championship win was sort of my first real like, ugh. And then what happens is in the training group, if you're not winning, people don't want to row with you. So then you got to build up your social status and like you got to prove to people that you can be of speed. Otherwise, they're not going to want to row with you, and then you're not going to make the team. So
Yeah.
I get into the whole training philosophy there, but you got to, yeah, pick your partner, and we rowed in 2-man boats,
Yeah.
and then you would trial, and they take the top 4 2-man boats to make the 8.
I,
So if you
yeah.
were consistently like fourth, fifth, sixth boat, the top guys wouldn't want to row with you.
Okay, so that's how it works for, yeah. So just to give the listeners some clarification, so you always competed in 8, or did you compete in other,
I,
yeah,
yeah, 8 was where we competed mostly internationally, but
international? Okay.
in like World Cup races, which was kind of like the regular season for rowing, we'd do smaller boats just to change things up a little bit, but the 8 always ended up being the focus.
And the training and the selection process was groups of 2.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. Okay. And they were talking to, okay. So up to, if I hear you correctly, so you were writing the tell, mostly I would say through maybe your university years, like you had enough talent, you were always kind of making teams, succeeding like well enough. And then once you got to the senior level, this is where maybe extra level of dedication, I guess, was required to not only winning, but keep winning. And especially if you had setbacks around the injury side of things. And so, okay.
So yeah, no, I'm trying to think if I can add anything to that, but yeah, there's little steps along the way, and like there's jumps of training from within like a junior varsity team at university to varsity, and having to like almost double your volume, and like doubling your volume from varsity rowing at the university to national team. And like those are also some minor steps, but like generally, if you've got some of the talent and you're willing to push, you'll survive. But to actually compete at the highest level, you need to compete like all the time and be consistent.
How far ahead were you planning, like even throughout your career, throughout your university? Like, I think you've alluded to that, but like, was it after you graduated that you thought about joining the men's 8 and then maybe competing internationally? and then after that, pursuing that, until you win a gold medal. Like how far ahead were you planning, or were you just going from year to year to see how it went and what you qualified for, and who were you kind of rowing with, and where you were picked, which team were you picked up by, type of thing, whether it's national or you know?
Yeah, that I'd say like at the university level, there was a few instances where on the rowing machine, like you pull a score, like, and I know you're familiar with it, but for others like the concept two, and like you pull a good score over 2 kilometers,
Yeah.
and it's competitive with someone on the national team, and all of a sudden, like your mind makes the connections, like, oh, like they're at the Olympics and they pulled the same score I did. Maybe I could be at the Olympics. Now, rowing machines don't float and you actually have to be able to row a boat, but like there's some early indication there where you're like, okay, I've got something here. Um, and then people tell you, and I think that's pretty key too, is have that community or someone to be able to look at you and say, like, if you did this, you could get there. And like you're doing this and you'll stay here, but if you want to get to there, you need to do this. So having the right sort of coaches and mentors at some pivotal times as well, I could definitely say is super important. And then once you make the national, for me, once I made the national team, it was sort of like, oh, okay, well, like this is real now, and kind of setting your sights and realizing that if I want to stay here, making that's always something too I think is important. It's like there's goal setting, but there's also just some realities of shooting for the moon and shooting for the stars and hitting the moon. It's kind of pretty cliche, but like if your goal is to make the national team, like you might make the national team. But if you want to like really do well, like you have to set your goal to like win the Olympics, because it changes your whole mindset. And I think it's sort of like I read a book recently, uh, 10 times is easier than 2 times.
Yeah, 10x is using 2x. Yeah.
And because like
Yeah.
when you look at 10x, it's sort of like if I want to be the biggest whatever in the world, it's like there's probably only one or two avenues to get there, and then you just focus on that. If you want to be 2 times better, there's like 1,000 different ways you can do it, and you kind of get like bogged down. But when you set the goal high enough, you're like, okay, if I want to win that, then I need to train at least this. And like if you're willing to make that jump, you're going to be mostly there, and then you got to go.
Do you? We'll dive into this in a minute. I just want to ask you, what's your all-time 2K erg? Do you remember?
Well, it's not super amazing. I'd 5:55.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well,
So
I mean, it's a lot to share. So I did in March. I did a half marathon in Comox, and then in April, I think in the CrossFit gym, we had a 2K test, and I shaved. I think it was like 6:27. So I think I was
nice.
6:31 before. Like I think it was that, if I remember. But it's like high 6:20s. But man, to shave like just a bit, like it's so hard. Like, I feel like I don't know. It's just, yeah, you gotta it doesn't look like it, but let's say yeah, I just find it like to just chip it away at it. Like you have to like go back to the drawing board, and then now like you start from the base, and right. So anyway, it was just fascinating. So 5:55. Okay. Yeah. Do you still follow some of the leading? I can't remember his name. I was following him on Instagram, but they're all like on the indoor side of things, like maybe not as much.
I see it every now and again, but yeah,
Yeah,
I can't recall, but there's a Dutch guy right now that I think's got the top
he's
score.
crushing it. Yeah, I can't remember where I think, is it the Norwegian guy too? I know there's a few up there, I guess, that they're crushing it, but like, yeah, it's pretty. What are they, like 540s now? Is that something like that?
Anything on a concept too, there's new machines coming out that are probably better suited for
Yeah,
training for
yeah.
rowing, but on the concept too, like anything below 540 is kind of like the like super elite club.
It's
Like
probably,
there
yeah,
might be one person a year that could
doing
do
that.
it.
Okay. So you had okay, so I want to go back to that mindset shift from I want to make the Olympic team to, okay, now I want to win a gold medal. Yeah, what was that for you? And then I have a subsequent question on
Yeah,
that one.
sure. Um, for me, it was a lot of it came down to probably just this identity piece that I talked about. It was sort of just like I I I wanted it. but I didn't really so much know why. So it's a bit kind of hard, but I can look backwards and reflect that in the time, like I wanted it to feel validated of who I am. And like, it's sort of like it's a blessing and a curse. It sort of reveals your underlying nature sometimes too, of like your need for success, or your need for, um, what's the word? Uh,
Gratification or
Not gratification, but
uh,
like, oh, wow.
self-worth? Like,
Yeah, like deep down self-worth,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
I'm not good enough unless I can show that I'm competing at and done this. And like, I can look back on it now and like, it's vulnerable about it, but in the time you don't want to say like I have low self-esteem and I'm going to be an Olympic champion. But like deep down, like it's probably what was driving it, because the day to day was pretty hard. And like there's not a lot to, you're barely getting enough sleep, you're barely getting enough food, you're chronically depleted of all your like everything, and you're working really hard. Um, you've got a supportive environment, and that's pretty key. Um, but yeah, the reason why was uh, really trying to probably drive that, as well as what builds from that is there's also a group of other people who may have the similar deep down reason, or whether they're willing to share it or not, but like it ends up being that there's a common goal, and each might be going at it for different reasons, but eventually it grows. And it's sort of like you're like, yeah, I'm here for like me personally in many ways, but like then you also see what people are doing to help you get to where you're going, or you have a bad day, or like, and they're sort of like, hey man, like good job, keep it up, like just some like fairly even like small remedial things. But then you're realizing like, wow, like I couldn't have pushed myself that hard today if you weren't beside me.
Mm.
So there becomes a self sort of mutual respect and appreciation for other people and their goals. And you sort of like, it just sort of builds. It's just like, oh wow, like we won the world championship. Like it's not out of the question that we could win an Olympic gold medal now. And like then you start to develop belief. And when belief starts to set in, you gain a lot of confidence. And then that
Uh,
confidence, it's a self-fulfilling sort of prophecy on it. It's like a self, instead of a like a negative feedback loop of try, fail, try something different. It's like try, succeed, continue trying, try more. And you just develop this positive feedback loop of effort
mhm.
and focus. And then you're in a training environment that everyone else is doing it. It's just like you just sort of carried along with the wave. You're like, well, of course we're all going to win a gold medal. And then
Yeah.
like you wake up every morning and like it's totally normal. Like we're going to win an Olympic gold medal this morning. We're going to train that hard. And
Yeah.
it's not this big like, oh, it's just like, no, we're doing it.
Yeah. Aside from like the sheer amount of like sacrifices that everyone is putting for this, and everyone on the team, I mean, is doing, and I'm sure your support crew, your family, and everyone around, like of course I know that that's kind of like table stakes in a way to, I guess, to succeed at that level. But what else do you think separates kind of that level of athlete, even at the Olympic level, to go for a gold medal versus kind of everyone else? Because there's thousands of rowers, really good probably rowers in the country that made it to the university and maybe coming at the national level, but really never made it to the pinnacle. What if you had to describe, you guys, I guess that eight row of men on at least that year, that time versus everyone else, like, is there something particular that really differentiates you guys than the rest?
It's a great question. I should probably better prepare to answer. I knew you were going to ask it. There's you number one, like you need the right environment. So like that's key. So there might be a lot of, but then it said, okay, well, there's other athletes who came into the environment who didn't win a gold medal, right? So there is something either individual about it that has that next marker. Um, and my answer is it's kind of similar to what I maybe said before. There's a deeply rooted Um, what are you willing to do? And like, what are you willing to like risk to get there? And are you really willing to sort of lay everything sort of aside and be like, I'm fully committed to this? And like, I don't think a lot of people really know what full commitment is. And that's the sort of probably like defining factor. Full commitment and a bit of grit, all things else being considered equal, um, in terms of an environment where you're not either a satisfied with a good performance, and that there's something more that internally you're willing to do to get the next performance, and you're not afraid to be at that absolute edge of, either breaking down or failure or anything. And I'd say that's probably the, yeah, off the cuff answer of just like what it would be.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot there, and that's pretty deep as well. Like as far as being like rooted in your self identity and being kind of your definition even of who you are, like that's or who you want to become. Like I want to be like a gold medalist. I want to be that person. It's and that's I guess that's so ingrained in who you want to be, I guess, or you want to be defined as. But I can like was that and that wasn't that's what I'm hearing. Like that itself was enough to get I guess keep you going and motivated and we know motivation I mean comes and goes. So my question to you is and I guess that will probably come in different seasons of training. Like as you're probably leading up to it, you're probably firing on all cylinders. Like that's probably not hard to get like motivation. But were there periods in your career, I guess, where I mean the motivation was gone, training hours needed to be put in, I guess, and I'm assuming here, like I guess the further you were away from a competition, the probably harder it was to maybe kind of you know, work
Wake
on the
up.
weaknesses. Yeah. Cause like as you're approaching, I mean, just even like on the amateur side, like you're all like you're leading up to it. Like you want to peak for it, right? So how was that for you? How did you manage those days where motivation is gone? Maybe you're doubting that self identity now, or you're maybe second guessing it like, do I really want this? Or how bad do I want it? Or am I willing to sacrifice even more? Like because you could have probably gave up like I'm sure 100
All
times.
the time. Like
Like,
like that, and I think it's a great story to tell because it's not all just like roses and sunshine and like trying hard and like we're doing this and it's fun. There's a very big reality of like looking yourself in the mirror every day and being like, why am I doing this? Like this is incredibly difficult. So I think that's where the environment starts to really kick in. Like if there's no you don't need an environment, and if you are pure talent and you're pure effort and you've got good coaching, you could do it without a sort of an environment to like support you. And you can say like I'm self motivated and I can do this, but it's very rare that you can like. I think it's the human condition of like when you're down and there's no one else around, you just feel like you're at the bottom. Like it's so hard to get up. But if someone has been alongside you the whole time and you're down and they're not, you start to kind of go like, well, what are they doing? I'm not. Like there's just a natural curiosity that sort of emerges. So like having a good training partner, um, is so vital if you want to get to the next level and like really kind of making that jump because yeah, there's lots of days where it's just like you just got crushed like the whole day, like you lost every single piece and you're like, I suck, I quit, like I'm not coming back tomorrow. But then you've seen someone else suck and quit and then they come back and beat you and you're like, oh, they did it. So then you get a glimmer of hope, and sometimes that's all you need.
yeah. That's it. I mean, that's what I'm hearing is like the team who you surround yourself, like it's so critical in I guess pushing you through. Okay. No, that makes sense. So you alluded as well to coaching earlier. Can you expand on and in your presentation, I mean you talked about it and I love how like you were emotional when you were reliving those moments. Can you mention how important coaching has been, or you think coaching has been in your career, and how impactful it has been?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
We had a very expert coach. His name was
yeah,
Mike Spracklin, and yeah, without him, we wouldn't probably have amounted to much. And you can like you can see it even within Canada in the men's program. I mean, since he's left, there really hasn't been a lot of success. Um, Even bringing in other past Olympic gold medalist coaches, it's not always you know a guarantee that just because someone's done it in the past, they're going to do it again. So Mike had just a year over a year over year over year of success and consistency that allows for buy-in. And this is where like you need this is so a good coach will obviously, yeah, help see something. First of all, they'll probably help see something in you that you haven't identified yet. And I think that's pretty important, and that they don't manipulate you, or they don't use it in the wrong way, but that they're sort of like actually trying to help you get to where you want to go. And but they've got the confidence to say, you know what, like what I've seen, like you can go to the next level. You just need to do this, 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 and this. And if you follow that and then you get what they say, there's that positive feedback loop again. So it becomes real tricky at the international level, where you get a coach and they say, yeah, well, I'm going to make you be an Olympic gold medalist, and we need to train as hard as you've ever trained before. And then you don't win. And then you're like, well, like that was as hard as I could go. Like, why am I coming back? So having someone that can help bridge gaps of either failure, identify why it didn't work, and you believe it, is pretty important. So, yeah, coaching is absolutely vital in um, being able to coach in an environment that allows for continued success. And Mike, as well, like he, a lot of people challenged his style of coaching, um, but it's also rooted in a very foundational belief of, for like, it's very like, if you don't keep up, you're not allowed to stay, is the rule, which is
yes,
like, it makes sense. But like for a lot of people, when they're given an opportunity and then they keep up for a little bit and then they're maybe told they can't stay, it's sort of like, it can be tricky. It's sort of like, well, like, anyway, I don't want to get too much into that, but like,
yeah,
you need somebody that can continually create an environment where you feel you need to improve, and that it's your ability to, it's on me to improve. If you think it's on the coach to help you improve, you've already lost.
yeah,
And he always one of his main things was like, it's 90% you and 10% me. And that was a big sort of thing that he always says, just like, if you guys aren't here to do this on your own, it's not going to work. And I won't take your success. I won't stand up and say, I got you your gold medal. You got your gold medal, and like, I'll be here to help. So there's sort of this sort of like real balance and interplay of, um, strength, confidence, and ability to sort of keep you up when you need it. But
yeah,
I don't know, I'm kind of all over the place there, but
yeah,
pretty,
yeah.
pretty vital to have a good coach.
Yeah, no, that's it. You cover some good points there. Can you talk about also the moment about like the rehearsal, about the cues and whatnot? And my question around this is, when I was listening to that story, I thought it was about, maybe I'm wrong, but like a lot of like the fundamentals. And can you just talk about, like, when you're an elite like this, like my perception is everyone who's at like the elite level of their sport, like they're mastering the basics so well, like better than everyone else. And like what was that kind of session? What was the goal of these sessions aside from giving you the right cues? Like what else was expected for you guys to get out of these sessions? If you just want to briefly chat
Sure.
about
So
what they
yeah,
were, kind of what was the setup? Yeah.
I think what you're chatting about is these sort of like 8-hour long meetings of like
Yeah.
making sure everybody in the boat was going to do the same thing at the same time.
That's
And that,
wild, dude. When I was hearing that, I was like, yeah, that was wild. Yeah, that's exactly it.
and it was sort of that, rowing just, the, I think, well, how do I say, is just like, when you watch rowing around the world, everybody does it a bit differently. Some, and similar to like a lot of different things, like there's certain things that there's style and then there's fundamentals. So like the ones that can really stick to the fundamentals and but understand style, I think are the ones that are going to go far. And but to get the right fundamentals, that you said, is like we used to have these meetings where it'd just be like, they're like, okay, at the 250 meter mark, we're going to focus on the catch, which is where you start the stroke. And you go down the boat, it's like, yeah, okay, Ben, what do you do when we call out catch at the 250 meter mark? And I'll say, well, I'm going to push from the balls of my feet, and then I'm going to try and feel the blade lock on quick, and like the boat's going to surge, and it's going to feel lighter, but it's going to like burn in my legs, and like, and you kind of like sort of really try and drive into like all these different like sensations, feelings of what it is, and then you go down the boat, okay, two seat. What are you going to do? Like, well, I get up to catch. I'm going to be looking up over the person's shoulder because that keeps my shoulders high. And I know that if I'm in a strong position with my body, my legs are going to be able to fire quick. And I really want to make sure my heels start getting some pressed. And like all of a sudden you're talking about the same thing, but like two completely different descriptors of how to get the same result. And just to kind of go through and like make sure that as everybody goes through it, Mike is sort of like, okay, but the fundamental piece is that like this is happening, or that there's an outcome that I know you're doing it like that and you're doing it like that, but are we all feeling this? And to like really make sure that, there's some room for, body size, like everyone's built a little bit differently, like their shins are different levels. So like to push it a certain way to get a feeling out of the boat might require somebody to have a vastly different biomechanical drive to create the
Yeah.
same feeling than somebody else. So that just kind of like keeping that focus of what's the feeling we're after and what's the fundamental is that we're trying to use our legs mostly. Anyway, so like, I don't know if I'm answering your question here, but like you kind of
Yeah.
just get into these long expanded conversations, but that the goal is to root the feeling to what you're doing and that everyone believes and is created a belief in the feeling so that you can commit to the sort of anticipated sort of like call or move for your team.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Yeah.
I've answered your question. I kind of went off there, but
Yeah, no. And then I think one of the thing you mentioned that struck with me was that you're all after the same outcome, but everyone has a different process, like or experiencing it differently. That's kind of what you're after, right?
yeah.
Depending, which I thought was fascinating because you all want to, I guess, row in the same direction. Like you all want to have the exact same like kind of output in some ways, but that will be felt differently. That will be triggered differently and processed differently based on the differences you've mentioned, right? Like, so, hmm, that's yeah, that's and then the 8 hours. So why was it that long? Like why was this so extended? Because you guys it needed to be perfect, or what was the
Well,
yeah
like it's a, and like the meeting, the meeting itself, like it end up being like multiple meetings because you can't really focus for that long, but like you'd be in there for like easy 3 or 4 hours at times trying to figure out these things. And like, um, it was a number of components. No, like number one, Mike, the coach, was sort of driving it, making sure everyone was on the same page. Like you needed to leave that room being on the same page. And like we weren't leaving the room until you were on the same page, or we'd change the call. Because like to have one person be mm, out of line on it, it dulls the effect of a call. And when you're in the middle of a race and there's a lot of pressure, you're at your physical maximum. to not have it be as effective as it could, it can be demotivating. So the goal is just to try and create positive motivational uplifts during the race, and to believe that everyone's going to do it with you. And the, the amount of time it takes to get everybody on page, it just takes a while. There's Everyone has a different personality. Some people want it to be their way. This has to be the call here, and it should feel like this. And some people are like, well, like, it doesn't feel like that for me. But then you got to go, okay, well, let's go on the boat. Was that okay? We did that call. Did that feel good for you? Okay, that felt good for me. What did you do? What did you do? And they're like, well, I did this, I did this. Okay, then then you'd be like, okay, fine. You can do it that way. I'll do it this way, because the result ended up being what we want. But just that continual, never ending search for just getting it right. I don't know.
That's fascinating, man. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. That's what when you're at the pinnacle and there's no margin for error. So you have to have it right. So, talking about, you mentioned a word, pressure. How did you handle the pressure? I guess throughout your career, but also when it was at its highest.
Sure.
Was
I've had in 2004, our team was supposed to win or ranked number 1, and we ended up 5th. So I've call it we've failed under pressure. But being world champions coming in 2004 Olympics, yeah, we were supposed to win and we didn't. So we kind of failed, and trying to keep focused. When you eventually kind of reach, and that's what kind of makes the Olympics really cool, is it only comes every 4 years. So there's this, it's not like next weekend you'll get another shot. It's you got 4 years. So that's pretty real and palatable. So there's a lot of, yeah, just oh man, do I really want to go through it again? And so there's excitement that kind of comes. So the big sort of trick I'd always say is to try and turn pressure into excitement. And that's and you'll go through cycles of it. But our Mike always told us that if you're not excited or worried or have that anxiety, you probably weren't going to win anyways. So to really learn to channel the physiological response of stress and pressure into the right mental head state, because anxiety, stress, pressure hits your body the same. And even excitement, a lot of the same things are happening. You've got adrenaline, you've got increased blood flow, but it's how your body interprets that information, or your brain interprets it, and how do you channel it in the right way. But that also takes practice. That's not something you can sit in a sports psychologist room and be
yeah.
okay, now we're gonna pretend we're at the Olympic start line.
Yeah.
And there's some advantage to that. And don't get me wrong, it's
Yeah.
better than not doing it. But that's where our training was always rooted in what we show up on Monday morning in October is pretending that it's the Olympic start line. And sure, we're just doing long, low rate miles. The start of that piece, it's the start, and it was called the same. So you've had thousands of repetitions of getting off the start line under pressure, either not motivated, anxiety, stress, so that when it comes to it, it really just is it's practiced. So that there's not it's not this big event, but you've channeled all the energy and into the right mindset.
That's interesting. So you were saying that you were having the same starting process as you would have had on race day when you were going for a zone 2, long miles type of workout, but without the intensity of it was the same kind of out of the gate. Wow. So you've practiced that hundreds of times. I mean, thousands of times. Yeah. Okay. So on race day, it was just one more time. Just now was the real deal, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a little bit of extra to it, but it doesn't have to be this massively different.
Yeah. Huh. That's okay. And then I want to ask you. I know we're coming up to the hour. There's a few things I want to pick your brain on, but one is who were you when you left the competition? I know you talked a lot about identity and how deeply rooted winning a gold medal was to your self worth and you as a human being. So can you add a can you expand on when you left that and like yeah, how was
Yeah,
that?
sure. Like there's the, it's always an exciting time finishing and winning the Olympics for sure. You're like, finally the goal achieved. If I'm being honest though, my reaction, and I don't want to take away from others, maybe different reaction, but it was relief. Um,
Oh,
which is, it might be a little sad to hear, but it's like, it's sort of just like, I was happy it was done. Um, and like, for me, it was like super excited that it also filled my bucket of like, I did what I said I was going to do. And like, there's a lot of pride and like all that sort of stuff. But when you, the for me, my journey was, as I said, my identity really did get rolled into what I did. So when I sort of quote unquote retired, or like I knew it was, that was the it, um, it was quite difficult to sort of really just wake up in the morning and be like, okay, like I'm not rowing, so like I'm a nobody. Like that's what starts going through your head. So like it was pretty tricky, and yeah, it takes you down but like you look at it and you go like, but like how amazing for me, like to now look back on it now to be like, oh my God, like, so if I hadn't have like maybe won the gold medal, would I still be struggling with my identity and like who I am versus what I do? And like, cause it's such a gift. So I look back on it and like afterwards it was challenging in like the face of maybe not knowing who I was after I'd done everything I'd set out to do. But looking back on it now, it's such an important moment in time to like reflect. And I think that's where like you can really mm, learn from, is like, how deep of reflection are you willing to do on yourself? And I'm nowhere by any means calling myself a perfect like human case study of like, I don't know, life, but like to have moments like that to sort of like put the spotlight on yourself and say like, oh, like I did succeed, but like I still am like, there's still lots I don't know.
yeah.
It was kind of exciting too, and allowed for sort of like the rebirth of what I've become and where I need to grow and sort of enjoy this thing we call life. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know if that answers your question, but
Yeah. One thing also I want to have your opinion on is how did your like vision not vision, sorry, but how did your view of process versus outcome has changed? And a lot of the things that I do is, again, I didn't win a gold medal, but like I just love the process. And I'm sure when you were training towards a gold medal, like I'm sure you did love like in some capacity, like being in the trenches with the guys and the whole process. But I remember when I talked to you, you were saying like, no, but like winning the gold medal, that was the goal. Like there's nothing else mattered, right? So today, I guess it depends what you're doing, but how did you view of like enjoying the process versus striving for a goal like at all cost has changed, I guess, in what you do? Yeah.
um, I think it's the. I mean, what might be interesting is like I'm COO of our group of companies, so I'm a chief operating officer. So like that's the process. So I I I technically love the process.
Yeah.
I can get into the weeds of like, what are we doing, and down to the second of like each sort of like mortgage transaction, and like I'm like trying to figure that out. Um, and but I need a goal and I need a vision as well to be able to commit to that sort of like focus, to make it worthwhile. And that's sort of like the like bit of interesting. There's personal development. There's also just a human reality, I think, of mm, when you know where you're going, you, you it's sort of exciting to work your way towards it. But if you don't know where you're going, it's you're just like, well, like,
Yeah.
why am I doing all these
Yeah.
things? So I'd say inherently I'm probably not a whole lot different, but that I'd give myself a lot more leeway in terms of, you know, knowing there's more to life than just the goal itself.
Yeah. I love what you just said about the goal and where you're heading is giving meaning and significance to and helping you to go through the process and stick to the process, right? Which are all tied. One reason why I'm asking this question is, I personally struggle even for simple things to just kind of do things without necessarily expectations. Like it's like I need the goal. I need that characteristics. I need to be working towards something if it's a, fitness competition or whatnot. But sometimes I'm trying to be better at, today I'm just gonna go for a run, and I might not even wear my Garmin watch. Like even just go to the gym, but just appreciating, I guess, the the activity itself without having necessarily to like strive for something. I'm not sure. I'm still like struggling with that, for as far as finding a balance in life, and trying to see like, oh, am I going to be able to find that mixture between always striving for something and maybe just appreciating the moments. Anyway, I just find it fascinating. But
I agree.
yeah,
I mm, I would love to hear more from you on that
uh,
too, because it's
yeah,
that's my biggest sort of struggle, let's say, of growth. But
grow. Yeah,
enjoying now.
yeah. That's another podcast probably on mindset
Oh,
and life. Yeah, life philosophy. But I have a few rapid fire questions that I'd like to ask you.
sure.
So what is one habit that compounds over a decade?
One habit that
But
compounds
that
over a decade.
that compounded for you over a decade.
Oh, just showing up and working out, like just literally showing up and doing the workout.
Just
I
yeah,
don't know. I don't know if that's too
yeah.
simplified, but like,
What? No worries. One thing that people do you think overestimate?
well, I'm thinking too much. Just that they're better than they are.
Oh, wait. People overestimate their capabilities.
They think they're better than they are.
Than they are. Yeah. Okay. What do you think most
Not
people?
good or bad. I'm not saying it's good or bad, but
No,
I think
no,
it
no.
happens. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, that's also tied to if you ask a room who's a better driver than average, like 70%
Very
of people,
true.
yeah, or 90% of people, yeah, which, yeah. One thing most people underestimate.
Their capacity, like how much they could actually do.
Ooh. Advice to someone chasing success fast.
Get a mentor or get a coach,
Oh, yeah, okay.
someone who's done it before.
Yeah, okay. And if you had to, that's like, last question. Like, if you had to define, a successful life, what does that? Yeah, how would you summarize that?
Find a sexful life. Um, Commit and find out,
Ooh,
and you'll you'll get there. You'll get there faster
huh. Okay. Eh,
than half committing and taking too long to find out.
so commit full on and take and I think you alluded to that as well in our discussion today. That I think you think people maybe have it's have a tendency and have a hard time to fully commit to something, which that's so. If you had to sum up the mindset that creates gold medal outcomes in sport or in business, what would it be?
And sum up gold medal. Say that again.
If you had to sum up the mindset that creates gold medal outcomes in sport or business, what would it be?
Um, be willing to continually learn. Be willing and vulnerable enough to continually learn.
And then before we wrap it up, do you mind just giving the listeners like a little bit of kind of your transition to, I guess, your professional, like your career at Design Capital, which if you want to give like an elevator pitch, if they've made it all the way through this end, and
Yeah,
also share maybe a few Rick resources that I can put in the show notes where people can find you guys. But I think, yeah, you and your partner, I think it's pretty phenomenal. It's pretty interesting what you guys are building. So, do you want to talk about kind of the architecture, who you guys are
sure.
serving, and yeah,
Yeah.
give us some color
You,
there. I think that'd be useful.
ultimately, where we add most value are to people in the construction real estate industry who are looking to build their net worth through real estate and construction of real estate. So yeah, we're builders, developers ourselves, and we've helped. We're kind of on that. We like to take risks ourselves and learn from it. And we've also spent a lot of time with people who have taken risks and have mentored us. So we've got a really good sort of understanding of what, yeah, it takes to build something. And that's its most easy part. So right from people who want to, yeah, look at a bare piece of land and they see an apartment building, or they see some sort of subdivision development. We can help them right from inception idea right through till construction, right from feasibility studies through financing and partners that can obviously help with the actual construction. We have a construction company as well, so we're kind of deeply integrated from zero to finished. Um, and yeah, it's been sort of a goal of ours, and largely developed from asking questions, um, not being satisfied with what is traditionally being offered by banks, and being that intermediary for people who can help decipher bank speak, and being someone who advocates for people, not just sort of telling you can't be qualified, or we have positive solutions for where you're at, or and if it's not going to work, then we help you sort of in with what you can do. So our sort of deep need for learning of how to handle the current environment today, to make successful projects and grow your net worth. So that's kind of maybe the quick like elevator pitch, but maybe
Yeah,
too long of an elevator pitch. But
yeah,
I'm not
no,
sales; I'm more operations. So
yeah,
that's my business partner on
yeah,
selling the vision.
yeah,
But
yeah,
on all of that, it's for me, it's making sure the team, as I said, all of our team is motivated with goals, and yeah, we look to the second of how we can be more efficient and provide better service. And that's kind of my operations side of like
yeah,
8-hour team meetings of like, are we
yeah,
doing this right? And the end
yeah,
result should be a really good sort of result for the client as well as us. And the
yeah,
environment we've created, as I've said, leads to building champions too. So we're trying to
yeah.
build champions for our staff that want to grow and build our company up.
Yeah, yeah. Because what I'm hearing as well is if someone wants, it's I think when I was talking with Tyler as well, like if it's one of their first real estate projects, I think you guys, I found, well, even if they've done many before, maybe they've had like not that great of, I guess, an experience. I think one thing that you guys are providing is not alone of, let alone just the financing, but there's so many components, the design, the architecture, I think land assessment, and there was like a number of services that are like complementary to being, I guess, having a successful experience and being a successful real estate investor that I thought was interesting because my personal view is if you can go to the least amount of people and get the most services, I think it just simplifies things. If you can just deal with, I feel, with one person that can provide you like a number of services, I just find it like it's probably a lot easier on the clients than themselves having to quarterback everything. So it looks like, yeah, everything can kind of be done under one roof, which I thought was, that was interesting. If I was one of the, one who would want to go into like a project, I'd love to have someone who can, I guess, guide me through all the components instead of just being so siloed. So anyway, I just thought that was interesting. So design cap, and are you guys only on Vancouver Island, or mainly on Vancouver Island, or do you guys expanding on
Yeah,
the
we're
BC?
sort of licensed with financing in BC, Alberta, and some other provinces as well. But that's where we mainly do most of our work. in
Mo- yeah,
like Vancouver, Lower Met, like Vancouver Island, um, Lower Mainland is where we do most of our work. Yeah.
perfect. And I'll put the Designer Capital link in the show notes. And then be vigilant. I mean, that could be also another podcast, but yeah, cool.
Cybersecurity company. Yep.
Cybersecurity. Yeah. Okay. Ben, thank you so much
Honor
for your
meeting.
time. Yeah, I had a great chat, and it was great to pick your brain and hear your story and kind of what you've accomplished. I think it's very inspirational. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Great
Yeah,
questions and great job. Look forward to seeing it and on your next ones too.
yeah. And then we'll have to reconnect about High Rocks at some point as well.
I know.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
I've got yeah, didn't show up there, and injuries have plagued me. But
I assume because you had a hamstring. Did you injure your hamstring? So did you end up doing it or no? No. Yeah, that's what I because I didn't see you there, and I was like, I knew you mentioned you had like your hamstring kind of was bothering you leading up to it. So anyway, maybe the next one.
it will be. Well, yeah, it's already in sights, and yeah, I was looking at Ottawa, and anyways, there's lots of
All
good things.
right, all right. I'll be there. I'll be there.
Okay,
So,
cool.
yeah. So cool. All right. Hey, stay in touch, man. Thank you again for your time, and for the listeners. Yeah, you can always find us on on our website if you want to book a meeting or ask any questions, and then everything's gonna be in the show notes if you want to reach out to Ben and his team or ourselves at Millennial. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode.
See ya.